So during today, we've learned that anxiety is the anticipation of pain. It's worrying about something that is in the future that may or may not happen. This is not something, like Jess was saying, it's not something that just adults deal with, but it's definitely something that kids can deal with, and it can feel like an upset stomach or a headache or like your heart is racing, which is kind of like what mine's doing right now. Have you guys ever felt this way? Help me out here. Raise your hand, maybe. A few of you. Okay. So I think everybody feels anxiety in some form, in some way. We all do it. We play that like what-if game in our heads. So I'm asking you guys to put the Bible verse up, the Matthew 6:34. I'm going to read it from the Message translation. I just love the imagery from it. Give your entire attention to what God is doing right now. And don't get worked up about what may or may not happen tomorrow. God will help you deal with whatever hard times come up when the time comes. He's going to give you what you need. So think ahead, plan ahead, but don't worry ahead. So how do you do that? That's kind of like the takeaway today, is that I want to kind of speak into that, give you a practical way. So whenever I'm feeling anxious, one of the things that I think is like, what did Jesus do? Was he ever anxious? And the answer is yes, he was. So in Mark 14:32 through 35, it says, they went to a place called Gethsemane, and Jesus said to his disciples, sit here while I pray. There was 11 of them at that time. And then he said he took Peter, James, and John along with him, and he began to be deeply distressed and troubled. My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death, he said to them. I feel like I'm going to die, basically is how he felt. Stay here and keep watch. He's asking them, just be with me. So going a little farther, he fell to the ground and prayed that if possible, the hour might pass from him. Abba, Father, he said, everything is possible for you. Take this cup from me. He's saying, I don't want to go through this, yet not what I will, but your will be done. Leave it in God's hands. So when Jesus is stressed out and he's anxious, he's doing these things. First of all, he's getting his closest friends. He's getting his Peter, James, and John. We need community. That is how God designed us. He designed us to reach out to others. There is no shame in feeling anxious. And I think that's one of the things that I struggled the most with, is I felt like when I'm feeling anxious, I need to go to my room, go to my happy place, and get alone and fix myself, and then come out whenever I think I can deal with everything. But that's not what Jesus did. That's not what we're supposed to do. So I want to say, first of all, there is no shame. This is a no shame zone in feeling anxious. The second thing that he did is that he said to them what was going on. He spoke it out loud. I feel like I am going to die here. He said those words. And in saying that, in speaking it, it takes away the power of what has that control over us. Instead of pushing it down, trying to deal with it, I can just, fix this. No. When you say it out loud and you share it with others, first of all, you give the others an opportunity to minister to you. And second of all, it loses its power. The third thing he does is he prays and he asks God to stop what is about to happen. I know I've done that a lot of times. I'm like, God, just take it away. I don't want to deal with this anymore. And sometimes he does, but sometimes he doesn't. And so the fourth thing that he does is he lays it at the feet of God and says, not my will, but yours be done. That's a hard thing to do. I think that's probably the hardest, is to say, okay, I'm not in control here, and you are, and I trust your heart, and I trust who you are and your love for us. But I like that Jesus didn't do this just once. He actually did it 3 different times in this. So it's, to me, it's something that's continuous. It's not that you're never going to be anxious again. You're never going to have anything to be worried about. It's when these feelings come up, do this. Look to me. Get your focus on me. So I'm going to ask the band to come up. And I'm going to get a little vulnerable right now. I'm going to try not to cry. So in speaking on anxiety, God decided to give me the most anxious week of my life. Funny how he does that, right? God's got a real sense of humor. On Monday, my husband had a series of heart attacks and ended up in the hospital. And through all of this, I was not able to be with him in the hospital because of COVID regulations. And I was okay as long as I was able to see him and be by his side. But the second they told me, okay, we're taking him to this room and you can't be there, I just lost it. And it was probably the single most scary part I've ever dealt with. Coming home and not having him in the bed next to me was really hard to deal with. So I sat there and I'm like, okay, so you're testing me, right? Are you going to practice what you preach? And I was like, okay, God. So, I called up my elder wives and I asked them to come around me, to sit with me, to pray with me. I even attended a staff meeting, which people are probably like, that was weird. But it was me getting in front of other people, telling them, I'm scared, I'm worried, pray for me. And that was what got me through this week. He is now home, praise Jesus, and he is good, and I can testify that God is good. But there was a point in time where I didn't know. We were both waiting. He woke up Wednesday morning and had another heart attack while he was in the hospital. And we just didn't know. And the not knowing is where your head goes to all the, oh, it could be this or it could be that, or it doesn't matter. I have no control, and I just needed to give it to God.